I've been working on something for a few days, and it's not a fishing video, but it's fishing related. I wanted to do a review and a walkthrough of a deep freezer bait tank that I've built from scratch. Tell you how I did it. It's put together right now, so I do have some footage of me actually putting it together. It may put it on a different video, but this is just a review of what I did, how I got it set up. I'm gonna go ahead and walk you through what I did to create this bait tank holder, deep freezer. Here's my bait tank. Right off the bat, you'll see the shameless plug. Subscribe, Champion Jigs Outdoors. I wanted to have that on there. This here is my filter system. This here is a aerator. I made this sweet little stand for my bait tank net to get the bait out. And what this is a Hisense 7 cubic feet mini deep freezer. Just to kind of walk you through what I did, and mine is slightly different than anything else that I've seen on YouTube. It's got a lot of similarities, but it's a little bit different, and a lot of the differences are on the inside of the tank. So I bought the deep freezer from Walmart. It was $148. It was beat up pretty good, so I don't know. You see down here that it's been dented pretty bad. Still works fine. And there was a big dent over here. It was hit pretty good. So if you ever decide that you're wanting to do a mini deep freeze bait holder tank, the first thing that you have to do is remove the lid. And the reason that you have to remove the lid is so you can put this wood for your plumbing to come up. I'm gonna go ahead and open this, show you what I've got in there. I'll explain my filter system and go over a few things that I like about this bait tank. Here we go. First thing that you're going to notice about this tank is I have a LED light bar on it. I've got my spray there. I have a divider, plexiglass divider here, so if I wanted to keep a different kind of bait on this side as opposed to this side, it'd be easy. I have a 10-inch air stove at the bottom of that, so aerator coming up, air bubbles there, filtered water coming back down into here. And if you will notice, I've had bait in here for a while, and it is doing great. I love how that bait just sits on the bottom. If you've got a bait tank and they're constantly coming up to the top, your oxygen, your pH, something is wrong with your tank. These fish laid on the bottom, that's exactly how you want them to. Let me show you some of the size bait that I have in here. That's a small one. Let me get a big one. There we go. We've got a lot of bait that size. A lot of smaller bait, 4 to 5 inches, and I've got some fish that look like fish. There's a bigger one. I've got bait in there that size. That's a big creek shiner. Right now I may have 3 dozen assorted baits. That's chubs, shiners, everything. So let me walk you through the build just a little bit. The first thing that you have to have after you get your deep freeze is a pond pump. And there's a pond pump right down there in the corner that runs up this 1/2 inch plumbing. This is 1/2 inch plumbing. It sucks the water from the bottom, sucks it up, and puts it into here. So you've got your water getting sucked up, going into this bucket. Close that lid so it's a little quieter. Okay, something that I highly recommend you do is get one of these buckets from Tractor Supply. This, you're not worrying about cranking the lid off, jiggling all this around. All you do is gently twist it. You twist it off. And here's the filter system. Now, in this bag is some active charcoal bits to keep. It helps filter the water, get some of the ammonia out. So you can see a visual representation of what is in this bucket. At the bottom of this bucket, I have probably 30 of these pot cleaning pads. Okay, on top of that, I have a very fine micro filter. Above that, I have a kind of like a mid-grade coarse filter. And then on top of those, I have some furnace filters that are really coarse. You can see through them. If I hold that up to the light, you can see right through it. If I hold that one up, you still see some light coming through there. With that one, there's nothing. That's your, you want that to be your last guard. And really these are just safeguard after all this. So in this bucket, that's exactly what that looks like in that bucket. So there is the filter system. That is water from the bait tank coming up this, spraying into here. Get this tightened back down. When your water is pumped up into this, it sprays down through this filter. Okay, and the water just sprays straight down and it starts to rise. As the water starts to rise, it's gravity fed out this discharge, and it pumps. It goes through this discharge, down, and out this spray bar. This is movable. I can swing it in and out. Didn't glue that part. You just want to make sure it don't come off. Okay, so the water comes up. It empties out here just in case something was to get clogged in here, something gets stuck and the water not going through freely. I've got this emergency backup here. This plumbing here is 1.5 inches. I probably should have went with 1.25 inches. That's one little thing that I probably should have did, but the bigger the opening, the easier the water is to flow through. So I've just got it straight in the pipe. I did a big, huge ring of silicone caulk, waterproof silicone caulk, to make my gasket, and I haven't had any drips. What you're seeing on this bucket is condensation where this water's so cold, and my garage is at like 70 degrees. Just some condensation on the outside. So that's the filter. And I really, really, really like how this thing came together. If you are thinking of doing a deep freeze bait tank, there is one thing that you absolutely have to have. You have to have your filter. That's a must. So you have to have your deep freeze, pond pump, your filter, and there's one other thing that you absolutely have to have, and that is that machine right there. That is a Inkbird digital thermometer, and there is a probe that comes from this. It sets in my water. This is the actual temperature of the water that I've got this bait setting in. This is what I have it set to. I'm trying to stay around 50 degrees. That's your optimal temperature. So I'm having to keep this on about 48 to get this 50 degrees because it's staying about 2 degrees off. And that's because the lid is not very well insulated. And I could put some of the Pink Panther foam up there, but I just don't know that I will. But you plug your deep freeze into this, into the cooling side, and what this does is this is an automatic on and off shut off for your deep freeze to keep it at a specific temperature. You absolutely have to have this in order to make this work. If you just plugged it straight into the deep freeze, you come out and your water would be frozen solid. So this is some extra supplies. I've got my outlet mounted there with cords. I'm going to tighten all that up, but I just thought I'd give a quick rundown review of this bait tank. I think it turned out great. My garage is also it's a little dark in here, so I did install this. I think it's a 53-inch LED shop light. I'm going to turn this shop light off and let you see what this LED light looks like in the bait tank. It's pretty sweet. Check that out. That is pretty sweet. Like I said, I'll probably do a video of kind of more so what I did. I shot it on my phone and it's kind of up and down rather than like landscaped, and I just don't know if I like that look. But I'm gonna drop this camera in the water so you can see that bait down there. I've got some big bait in there already. Check it out. One other thing, I stuck that camera down in the water and the audio turned out garbage, so I went and got cleaned up while I got it ready. One last thing that I wanted to go over just real briefly is kind of like price of this stuff, what you're looking at. If you wanted to build one of these tanks yourself, if you do a lot of live bait fishing and you wanted a tank like this, kind of what you're looking at. The deep freezer was $148. I had this scrap wood laying around, and all I did was cut this wood, stain it. Actually, on the accent pieces that is offset, I burnt that with a torch. So if you was to buy a sheet of plywood right now, you're looking at $70 probably, and the 2x4s you're probably looking at $15. If you don't have any scrap wood, you're probably going to be out quite a bit more than I was. The bucket with this better lid on it was $17. I've got $60 in plumbing materials, caulk, stuff like that, all the joints, the elbows, this and that, all this other junk. The net was $5. The aerator was $10. The Inkbird was $35. The LED light bar was $15, and the air stone was $10. If you're looking at building this from scratch, let's say Facebook don't exist, Craigslist don't exist, flea markets, none of that, like you're buying everything new, I have this much in it. If you're needing wood, gonna have to buy all the materials, you're gonna have this much. So it can be a bit pricey. A lot of time too. Some things that I didn't mention was I siliconed all the seams inside of the tank just to make sure it's extra watertight, but I am very well pleased at how this turned out. I had bait in here for a while now, and it's doing great. It's perfect. Now all I need is a few buddies to go to Watts Bar with, so whenever you're all ready, hook me up, I'll have the bait. And if you decide you'd want to make some of this, message me, get a hold of me somehow, and I'll help you every way I can, tell you what to do, what not to do, but that's my tank. We gone.